All right, founders, it is time for another pitch deck critique and review. And this time we have a startup called Lifestyle. And this startup is promising a booking platform that links users to various recreational experiences and events. I understand that this deck is pre-seed and that there already is an MVP in existence. So what I'm looking for is what is different here in this app right away. And I'm telling you this because that's what investors immediately start to think. What is different? Because if you're telling me that this is a booking platform and links users to various recreational experiences and events, then I'm immediately going to be thinking, don't we have a lot of these already? And so now I have an expectation that you are going to show me something different. You're going to tell me why now and why you in this deck. Before we continue, my name is Ed Kang, 7-time funded founder with 2 exits. That's just a fancy way of saying I failed a bunch of times because I like to use these videos and my YouTube channel for your benefit. You can learn from my mistakes. Not to say you're not going to make mistakes, but I'm going to try and minimize the pain and the gnashing of teeth and the emotional turmoil that comes to mistakes, especially ones that cause me catastrophic failures. You're going to be learning from this, especially when it comes to raising pre-seed and seed funding. I like to help early stage founders get that traction and raise that money. If you're a founder out there and you want a pitch deck critique and review for your own startup, just stay till the end of the video and I'll show you how to do that. We do have a process that's going on because I have a lot of requests for these types of reviews. A special thank you to the founder of this app, Lifestyle, and all the founders out there that send in your pitch decks so I can do critiques and reviews on this YouTube channel so we can all learn together. That's the reason I do this, so we can all learn together. My recommendation to you is to take this video and send it to your colleagues and other maybe potential investors and get validation or maybe invalidation on the type of feedback that I'm giving. I have a feeling that most people are going to agree. Finally, if you appreciate this type of content, I would appreciate it if you like, comment, subscribe. All the encouragement is very helpful. The feedback is great. Allows me to adjust my content and get you what you want to see on this channel. Let's jump into this pitch deck. So coming back here, I appreciate the one-liner. This is good. You have basically explained to me what I should be expecting in this deck. Very simple. It's got no marketing buzz and hype. Kudos to you on this one. I'm going to give you an A for your one-liner. Now we're going to get into the problem statement. And you have this statement up here, what's wrong? You don't need to put that up there because I already know that we're going to get into the problem because you said it right here. So let's use the space and maximize the impact. Normally you want to have your one-liner up here and then bullet points or different things down in the bottom. But let's take a look. The demand for enjoyable events and experiences is rising among young adults. However, the significant 20 to 30% and undisclosed fees on existing platforms severely impacts experience providers. This reduces profits, restricts their audience, and hinders their ability to engage with potential customers. All right, I'm already confused. I kind of get an idea where you're going, and this is going to be a good demonstration as I went through this deck. As far as the technical aspects of all this deck, it's good. You are definitely following what we need to see in a pitch deck, and I appreciate what you're doing there. Now we got to figure out how to make the content a lot more sensible in terms of having an investor understand immediately what you're trying to say. Let's break this down here. The demand for enjoyable events and experience is rising among young adults. What exactly is the young adults that you are talking about? Are we talking about the all-important 18 to 35? Are we talking about Gen X, Gen Z, millennials? Who are you talking about? And that's going to be important. That's the reason those labels exist, so we can fully understand what is happening here. Now we're going to move into the 20 to 30% fees and undisclosed fees on these platforms. Now we're going to get into a little bit of confusing territory because we're jumping from young adults to 20 to 30% and undisclosed fees that impact experience providers. Who are these experience providers that we're talking about? The people who are booking the venues, the people who are putting on these experiences, tourist attractions. I'm still unclear, and this ambiguity is leading to more confusion. But I do understand this. You say this reduces profits. I understand as an investor, reduce profits, that's a problem, restricts audience, and hinders their ability to engage with potential customers. However, you are conflating all these issues together, and this is becoming a lot more complex. Profits, audience, and engagement, those are 3 separate problems that you are trying to figure out here, and you got this jumbled all together in one thing. So it's not clear. We need to really pick a direction. We're going to take this apart and start to analyze it, starting with the solution. So now I'm going to go backwards a little bit. I'm going to reverse engineer what we want to say. You're saying here, Lifestyle is an all-in-one platform that connects users with experiences using AI. Now you're making some claims here. It's an all-in-one platform. And that's a buzzy word that gets thrown around, but nobody really knows what they're saying when they say all in one. You better be prepared to back that up. Experiences using AI. Now you are adding the promise of AI. And this is what everybody's calling AI washing, where everybody is adding AI to stuff. And it's not really making sense on where the AI sits. But I'm hoping you're going to back that up. I think you do a little bit, but this is my expectation. You offer transparent pricing, which sort of relates back to the problem statement, and minimal transaction fees, enabling experienced creators to maximize their earnings and reach a larger audience. Now, what I like, what you did is you reverse engineer the problem. This is the reason I said, technically speaking, I appreciate what this founder's doing, because I can tell the founder actually went through my stuff. If you're addressing a problem that's slow and manual, the solution has to be fast and automated, and that's what you've attempted to do. But the issue is we're not clear exactly who we are solving the problem for. Now, just to confuse this a little more, we're going to go to the market. And I appreciate that you wrote market up here, letting us know where we are in the deck. And we're going to have this statement here. Young adults are increasingly drawn to experiences over material possessions. Now you're talking about young adults. You're back to the audience here, which is confusing me more. But let's talk about this. The average Canadian household spends $2,000 to $5,000 a year. So first of all, you're invoking Canadian households. I appreciate you being a fellow Canadian, being in Canada myself, but you didn't even mention Canada in the problem. And therefore, I do not know what you're trying to solve for. Is this specifically for Canadian experience and events or for a Canadian audience? Recreational events and experiences, you're saying my household, I got a family of 4, spends $2,000 to $5,000 a year on these experiences. Now we're talking about 78% of millennials are prioritizing experiences. That is not a household. Millennials don't have households right now, or do they? I don't know. You have not defined that yet. So we're talking about millennials, and you haven't mentioned that in the problem. If you mention millennials in the problem statement, then all this would be cohesive and would line up. Now we're talking about Canadian tourism experience market valued to be worth over $9 billion. This is a top-down analysis. And you've broken the cardinal rule that I always put. You've done a top-down analysis, not a bottom-up analysis. So we're going to go back to square one, and we're going to reconstruct this in a way that might make sense. I'm going to give you some options. So let's pick an audience that we're solving the problem for, the user that's experiencing the pain. Let's say we've got experienced providers. That's who you're trying to solve the problem for. Let's forget the millennials that are looking for experiences, and I get it. That's definitely true. But let's look at the experienced providers. So what I want to know is how many experienced providers, XPs, are putting on events. Then I want to know the size of the pain, that they're paying 20 to 30% and hidden fees. Then I want to know the severity of that pain. So I want to know what this is costing them. So let's say that I've got 1 million experienced providers, 1 million XPs. Here we go. Are paying 20 to 30% to host their events or promote their events on the normal platforms, losing out on how much money? Let's say they're losing out on $300 million a year, something like that. Now, that is a problem with a very clear scope, size, and severity of the pain. Then it makes sense for you as a solution to solve that problem, that you've got reduced fees, there's no hidden charges, maximum reach, and you save them lots of money, increasing their profits. You see how I simplified it down by focusing on who I'm solving the problem for. I'm taking for granted that this is a B2B solution. You are basically creating an Eventbrite or a Meetup competitor. And I don't know about these hidden fees that are on there, but any ticket sales place, let's say you're putting out an event, or Facebook events where you can put something out there and you can charge money, you're basically saying that there are too many fees that are associated with the current platforms out there, and you're going to solve that problem. Now, you as a founder, if you are sitting there going, no, Ed, you don't get it, you're completely confused, there's a reason for that, because I am totally confused. You see how I've gone from something that's ambiguous and all over the place, and I've tried to make sense of it, and I may be going completely in the wrong direction. If you lead me as an investor in the wrong direction, in other words, you leave it to my imagination to figure out what you're trying to say, now you're making me do work, and investors do not have the time or the wherewithal to do that work. They will immediately write you off, right from problem solution slide. They can decide whether they're interested or not, and if it doesn't make sense, the answer is an automatic no. That's the reason I showed you how I start to think about who my audience is, who's the user, what problem do they have, how painful is it, how many of those users are there, and how does my solution reverse engineer the problem and solve it specifically? Does my solution even solve that problem directly? That's the logic that I'm following to try and make it as easy as possible for investors to understand. Click through the rest of your deck and say, this founder's onto something. Let's give him a call. So let's move on to the solution statement again, and let's revisit this. An all-in-one platform, that starts to make sense because you can do promotion, you can do marketing, distribution, you can take transactions. But how does the AI come into play here? We don't know this yet, and so you haven't explained it. You have to say, does it use AI to reduce the fees and push out the event to the right users all the time by analyzing everybody's behaviors? That's what I don't know. You just added AI almost as an afterthought to add a buzzy word to say, I'm AI washing this thing. Take a look and let me get your attention. It's not going to work because imagine I look at multiple decks every day and I see the word AI in literally 80% of all the decks. It doesn't move the needle for investors now. You better explain why AI. What is different about this AI in this particular startup? So if you say AI helps reduce the fees by reaching a larger audience and increasing profits, now you're getting somewhere. But now I've got the question in my mind. How? Because you're not telling me anything different right now than Eventbrite or Meetup or all these other websites with a lot more money than you are going to be able to do because they think it's a great idea. So they're going to sink, what, $10, $20 million in it? $10-20 million that you don't have to compete with them, and they're going to come eat your lunch. So I need to know that you've got something very special in mind, and you're going to blow my socks off. You're going to surprise me with how you're solving this problem in a unique and contrarian way. So let's say you did show me a contrarian way that AI is going to make this completely different. How do we do a bottom-up analysis? I want to know how many XPs total are in the world. And I want to multiply that by how much money you're charging equals my TAM. This is how much money I'm going to make per year, and it better be in the billions. That's what startup investors need to see. Now, maybe your SAM, your serviceable, attainable market, is Canada. Think about that for a second, and you can say, all right, because I'm in Canada and we know the Canadian market, we're going to focus on Canada in the beginning, and this is how many experienced providers there are that are going to make X amount of money from us, and this is my SAM per year. You see how I'm doing this? Then your SOM, you can add that. That's kind of optional. But you're telling me that if your solution works, this is a global market. This is world domination, and we're going to make billions. But that's a pie in the sky number. So now we're going to focus on the Canadian market because guess what? Maybe the other websites are ignoring the Canadian market or an underserved part, and they don't understand Canadians because we are a little weird and crazy. But maybe you know something that they don't know, and that's the reason you're focusing on Canada. You got to give me a reason you're focusing your SAM into a segment that suits your business model. All right, now the rubber meets the road. This is our AI matchmaker. This is the product. This is really the how it works side. And Lifestyle is simple to use. That is not for the experience provider. That's for the user. I don't care if it's simple to use. I want to know exactly what is going on with this AI. And guess what? You've got this here. So really, you should eliminate this and you should have moved this up here. But it says here, AI matchmaker will analyze the metadata of experiences on the platform and match it to the user within seconds. Now, here's what I need to know. The matchmaker, is that what makes everything cheap? Is that the reason you don't have to charge 20, 30% plus hidden fees? You see where I'm getting at? You are not aligning all these parts to the actual problem. The AI matchmaker, really what it does is it tells me that this is better for marketing and distribution. So maybe your problem, going all the way back, is that events don't make enough money because they don't know how to reach the audience or they don't deliver the event opportunity to the audience at the right time. Guess what? Our solution is an AI matchmaker, which makes events draw in the right audience because we have better targeted marketing based upon analyzing metadata. But that's a completely different startup than what you started promoting here. So you see where I'm going. You've got multiple avenues to go down. You need to pick one and clarify. Other than that, your technique is really good. I appreciate you give me a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, but I don't know what exactly you're doing because here, what I see is pretty generic and it doesn't align with the problem that we are talking about. So even though the slide is great on its own, and kudos to you for being able to put a slide like this together, it is not aligned to the problem, solution, and the market you're talking about. So you have to go to the drawing board and figure that out. Now our business model here, and you say we take a small transaction fee on tickets, books. That's great. Core model, additional revenue stream, sponsorship deals. This is actually a really great slide. Talks about our core model and how we're going to expand in the future. Everybody else, all you other founders watching that, this is the way that you do a business model slide. Nice, clean, and simple. Good job. Now we get even more confusing because you say in the competition slide, a couple of major players in this sector, but remember David beat Goliath. Now you're just getting clever and it's starting to irritate me as an investor. I don't need to hear stuff like this. Now you as a founder, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to inject some personality. And I've seen your comments on my YouTube video, and I appreciate what you're trying to do, but you don't need to put that in a pitch deck here. And you're saying a couple of major players. I see more than a couple on this slide. So let's get rid of this right here and put a statement up here saying something like our AI differentiates us, etc. Let's look at your magic quadrant, x-axis and y-axis. This is the issue. Low customer reach and high customer reach. Who's actually going to admit to low customer reach? Nobody can quantify or qualify that whatsoever. So I want to know actual features. So maybe you say over here, no AI, and then you've got AI over here, something like that. Now you got high cost and affordability, low cost affordability. Maybe you want to talk about, hey, we have low cost events here, low cost experiences right here, and then high cost. Or maybe we only charge per transaction over here instead of regular licensing fees or platform fees, etc. Hidden fees, or maybe you can even say hidden fees and no hidden fees. I don't know, but you want to just be a lot more straightforward. You don't want to make these overreaching marketing statements, making claims that you can't actually back up with analysis. Be much clearer in choosing your X and Y axes. I'm going to stop right here, and this is the reason everybody always ridicules me when they say you use magic quadrants. They're so dumb. The reason they're so dumb is because people don't know how to quadrant them out properly in the X and Y axes. But if you see my magic quadrants and I actually differentiate, people understand what I'm trying to get at. So magic quadrant works well if it is set up properly, and that's what you want to learn about doing magic quadrants. If not, go right back to the features and benefits matrix where you've got all the lines and the X's and the check marks with the competition at the top. That's going to be a much easier way for you to analyze the competition, and it shows that you've done your homework versus having to figure out what an X and Y axis might look like on a magic quadrant. Although they can be effective, I'm a big fan. Here we are at the distinctive edge. This is your competitive advantage. And you know what I really like? I know where I am. 12 slides, nice and simple. Kudos, short deck. How is lifestyle different? That's what I'm wondering. Lifestyle emphasizes communication. Now, again, we're mixing up who are we talking to, who are we solving the problems for. If you emphasize communication, you say many existing platforms only support one-way communication, but you also say lifestyle enables two-way communication between users and event organizers, aiding logistics, inquiries, or special events. This is what I want to know. I already use Meetup, Eventbrite, and everything, and I'm pretty sure as an event organizer, experience provider, I can communicate with my audience. So you're not explaining to me how. On top of which, do I, as an event organizer, experience provider, even want to talk to my audience about logistics, inquiries, and special needs? I don't think so. If you had an AI that helped me with that, well, then that's a completely different thing. So maybe if you could figure out, because this is a pain point I can tell you straight from experience, you can say lifestyle automates communication using AI. That might be different. And then you've got this thing, lifestyle sharing preferences globally. Users can compile lists of activities in a specific area, which others can discover and purchase tickets available in MVP. Here's the interesting thing. You said MVP. This feature is what you are testing right now, which does not necessarily align with everything else. But I like the fact you got an MVP and you're testing a feature. But again, I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, how is this any different from the other Facebook or other social media apps where I can see the events that people have gone to? I can see people actually put together their history, and you can go in and see which groups they're part of, which events they've shown up to. Tell me something different. Maybe it's the AI, but you have not demonstrated that yet. If you are going to lean to AI, take advantage of what AI does and explain to me how this is not just AI washing for AI's sake, but how AI solves this problem in a unique way. Connecting with experienced event organizers, tap their customer base. You've got strategic partnerships, you're going to forge strategic partnerships, sponsorships, and you're going to participate in local events, continue building online presence. This is actually pretty good. This is a lot better of a go-to-market strategy, because instead of just saying strategic partnerships, you're explaining how that's going to work. I appreciate what you've got going on here, but again, it's not enough. I don't understand how this actually fits in because we're not clear exactly on the problems this solve. But as far as structure for a go-to-market strategy slide, pretty good. You're doing pretty good across many of these slides here. Now we come to the team slide, and we've got currently a one-man army, at least for now, with the help of some friends. Again, you're trying to be clever. Don't put that in. We don't need it. Only a very select few investors are going to appreciate it. You don't want to take that chance. All right, as a founder, you're a senior software engineer, 5+ years developing software. Check. I want to know more details. If you're technical, I want to know exactly what type of software engineer you are and what you spent 5 years developing. Worked on various mobile apps to reach tens of thousands of healthcare, finance, and aviation users. This is very ambiguous and vague, and you're risking embellishing it. You're not actually answering how. You're actually giving me a hyperbolic statement, and as soon as you start to do that, I'm going to stop believing you. Then you say you're a sales expert generating over 10,000 for local optical stores. Now, if this is a highlight in your resume, explain it. Don't tell me you're a sales expert and give me some ambiguous numbers. Tell me that you work for a local optical store and you were able to increase the sales from $1,000 to $10,000 in a week because you did this technical solution or something along those lines. Maybe that's a highlight, but right now all this is way too ambiguous and you're not moving the needle for me. You tutor many students in math, JavaScript, building and full stack applications. Who cares? I'm not saying this isn't valuable. You as an individual, very valuable. Congratulations. I appreciate that you have the heart to tutor students, but investors will not care. I want to see the information that shows your domain expertise, that you're actually capable of technically pulling this off. Because if you can actually build this, you have a much stronger advantage over many other founders that have to source it out dev shops. That's what excites me about this, because you already have an MVP and you can build. This is a good sign, and I want you to keep going. And if this is just one big exercise for you to learn how to think through MVPs, get idea validation, customer discovery, this is going to be time well spent to this founder. Now we get to the traction slide. The MVP app is available to download. This is exciting as well. Like I said, you've actually built an MVP. iOS and Androids have been available downloads since January 2024 with over 100 users and 10 events created by organizers. Now, here's what you want to get to. You want to talk about that this is a beta and that you are getting validation for the 100 users and 10 events. Web portal, okay, fantastic. And then approval by multiple experienced organizers with reach over 10,000 people daily on social media. I don't understand what that means. This is another sort of vague, ambiguous, possibly hyperbolic, embellished, fluffy statement that makes me start to question you and makes me go, I don't know if I believe you. If you do have multiple event organizers, list them out, put their logos in there, and underneath explain the number of social media following that they've got, and explain what is approval actually mean. What does it mean? Did you sign a partnership? Did you get an LOI? If you came to me and I'm an experienced provider, I'm an event organizer, and you said, I'd like to promote your events with my app, do you approve? Of course I'm going to say yes. Of course I'm going to say yes. But have I agreed to pay anything? Do I understand what the pricing structure is? I'm going to say yes to so many things. So as an investor, I'm thinking this doesn't pass the sniff test. You're not really showing me a lot of traction as far as event experience organizers. However, the fact that you've got an MVP is a really good sign. And I would definitely focus on that, what the MVP does and how users are using it. On top of which, I'd love to see a growth graph of how it's going since January, week over week. And that may be the reason you need a lot more information. You need to spend some more time getting traction on your app. Now you've got a milestones page here. We're looking to build a solid community and customer base. 2024, get major fashion shows, local popular shows to use the platform. Where did fashion shows come from? I don't understand. You haven't explained this to me whatsoever. Suddenly fashion shows pop up. Why? That's the problem if things are disjointed and the narrative is not connected. And then you're saying you're going to 10,000 monthly active users with 30% spending on $50 plus tickets, 7K MRR. How do you know? You generated no revenue whatsoever. That might be the milestone, but when you're pre-revenue, this is very dangerous. I do not know if you understand how you're going to get there, and this is usually wildly off when you're making these type of projections. Furthermore, you go into 2025 and you say you're going to reach 20 to 25,000 users. How do you know? You haven't shown me any sort of growth graph that allows me to actually think you're going to reach that. You've got 100 users. I don't know if they're all your friends or everybody in school. What's going on there? Are you doing any advertising? How did you get them onto the app? And then you've got all this in terms of introducing ads, 15K MRR. How do you know? Have you talked to the advertisers yet? This is a slide that's got way too much information that makes me believe you don't know what you're talking about and you have just a fantasy picture. And I know you're not that type of founder because you've thought this other stuff through and you can actually program everything, but you don't want to put this in and cause a stumbling block for an investor to stop believing you and believing in your potential. I'd rather see you say, this is the next milestone we want to try. We want to go from 100 users and see how we can get to 1,000 users and X events and figure out how do we test that. I'm spelling this wrong, X events right here. Then you got the ask slide. By investing $250,000, we can cut the time required to reach our goals in half. I don't believe you. How do you know? And what you're also saying is, if I don't invest $250,000, you're going to get there in the full time. So the time required to reach your goals, if you need $250,000 to cut in half, I'll give you nothing and let's see you do it. You see how this sentence can be misleading? You don't want to try and get clever and make these statements. I'd rather just have you say, I need to raise $250,000 to reach this milestone. Top of which you said tech, design of the web portal and mobile app for ease of use. You've already built an MVP. Tell me exactly how you're going to use the money to make improvements to the app and the web portal. Community awareness, this is your go-to-market strategy, and this is your goals. You already told me what your goals are by giving me those big milestones. You say reach 20,000 users signed up and 1,000 events on recreational activities created. This would be great on its own if you didn't have all that other information. But if you want to put all this together, you want to say I'm raising $250,000 to reach 20,000 users and 1,000 events by this time, 18 months. And this is how I'm going to use that money, etc. That is a better ask slide. You are close. Don't get me wrong. You've got the raw materials there, but you're saying all the wrong things for the right reasons. That's how I'd really describe this deck. You're saying all the wrong things for the right reasons. And then you got your contact slide right here, and you just need to put your name, which is very important. I'm making one more comment. You see this statement here? I'm available 24/7. I don't sleep. That's not a statement you want to put in a professional pitch deck to investors. I understand, once again, personality trying to shine through, not appropriate in this context. So where are we by this point in time? As a review, this deck technically solid. The fundamentals are there in terms of a structure of a pitch deck. Kudos to you as a founder. Your narrative disjointed all over the place. You haven't really thought it through. And this is something called the idea maze. The idea maze comes from A16Z and Andreessen Horowitz, and they basically start asking you questions to see if you've thought things through enough and you're going through the idea maze. For example, if they start asking questions, what happens if Meetup or Eventbrite starts adding AI? They do a deal with ChatGPT, OpenAI, and they start integrating. How are you going to address that there? If you don't have a good answer, well, guess what? You're not out of the idea maze. They want to see you navigate out to the idea maze with questions such as why you, what's different, how does it actually reduce the cost and increase the profitability? How do you know? How did you get your users? These are all the questions that are going to be asked of you, but you're not going to get there until you start telling me something different about your AI, something different about the way you connect event organizers and millennials. Get much clearer on your messaging and think this through. But like I said, I want to encourage you. The best part is, as soon as you think it through, you can go build something. And you got so many different opportunities to take a whack at this because you're technical. And that's definitely what you got going for you. This is a perfect start. And I want to encourage you. I appreciate everything that you're doing. For the other founders that are watching this, leave a comment and let this founder know what you think and provide some healthy feedback. Let's keep it positive, of course. And if you're a founder out there and you want your pitch deck critiqued and reviewed, just leave a comment and I will tell you how it gets done. I'm going to give you a message back and we're going to go back and forth. And we're going to get your pitch deck ready for the review. Hope this has been helpful. I got other videos that I've been putting on the screen here for you to watch. I'll see you in the next video.